When Lucky Luciano entered the room, 6 guns shifted. Only one man stayed seated. Bumpy Johnson stayed seated, back straight, cigar burning like a fuse. Luciano paused. Not because of disrespect. Because no one ever didn't stand for him. Bodyguards reached for steel. Luciano lifted a hand. Hold. He knew exactly who Bumpy was. Harlem's king, the man Dutch Schultz died trying to own. Luciano controlled the Italian Mafia coast to coast. Bumpy controlled the millions flowing through Harlem's numbers racket. This wasn't a meeting. It was a collision. Bumpy pulled on his cigar, slow, like he had all night. Luciano walked forward, eyes locked, never blinking. 2 predators measuring territory. Bumpy didn't move. Didn't smile. He sat at the head of the table, Luciano's seat. Bold. Suicidal. Or genius. Luciano slid into the chair across from him. A king accepting a duel. "Mr. Johnson," he said calmly. "Thanks for coming." Bumpy exhaled smoke, eyes cold. "You wanted to talk. So talk. No handshake. No courtesy. Just steel on marble." Luciano leaned in, voice even, like violence disguised as business. "I'm leaving the country in 3 weeks. The feds are deporting me to Italy. Before I go, I need New York quiet. No wars. No chaos. Just business." Bumpy said nothing. Silence as weapon. "Harlem is the last piece," Luciano continued. "Your numbers are printing cash. My people want in." Slight smile. "Not friendly, hungry. We offer protection, investment, connections. You keep running Harlem. We take 40%. Room freezes. Meyer Lansky watches Bumpy's eyes. Costello leans forward. Anastasia cracks his knuckles like bones. Bumpy places his cigar in the ashtray. Finally speaks, soft, dangerous. "And what if I say no?" Luciano's smile doesn't break, but his eyes go dead. "Then you're against us. And nobody survives against us." Not a threat. A fact delivered like a bullet. Bumpy opens a leather briefcase. No gun. No cash. 1 photograph. He slides it across the table. Luciano picks it up. Fingers tighten. Albert Anastasia, shaking hands with a police captain, right outside one of his illegal warehouses. 3 days old. Bumpy leans in. "I got 12 more. Different cops. Different crews. I could have burned your whole operation before you even knew I had M." Luciano looks up, and for the first time, he sees it. Bumpy didn't come to bow. He came to negotiate. The air in the VIP room snapped, like someone pulled a wire tight. Costello's hand twitched toward his jacket. Anastasia stood halfway, eyes on Bumpy, murder sitting right behind his teeth. Luciano didn't move. He kept staring at that photograph. Calm face, tight grip, jaw flexing once. Then, without looking up, "Are you threatening me?" Bumpy didn't blink. "No. If I wanted you gone, that photo would have hit the DA yesterday." He tapped ash from his cigar, voice low, controlled, like a man with nothing to prove. "You came to Harlem asking for partnership. But 40% ain't a partnership. That's a takeover with a handshake." Silence. You could hear the waiter outside breathe. Luciano finally set the photograph down, neatly, like a chess piece placed with intent. "So what do you want?" Bumpy leaned back, owning the moment. "You want in on Harlem's money? Fine." He held up one finger. 10%. Not 40. Lansky's eyebrows went up. 10. Bumpy continued before anyone could talk. You provide banking. When the heavy numbers hit, I need clean money to pay out winners. You handle that. He pointed the cigar like a judge with a gavel. You also provide lawyers when our runners get locked up. You got political pull, use it. He spread his hands. In return, you get 10% of the net. Not bribe money. Not protection money. A service fee. The audacity hung heavy. A black gangster telling the most powerful mob boss in America how business would run, and offering him less than a bookie tips his barber. Anastasia laughed once. Sharp, humorless. And what stops you from cutting us out once we wash your cash? Bumpy didn't look at him. His eyes stayed on Luciano. The same thing that stops you from trying to take Harlem by force. He tapped the briefcase. 12 more photos. 12 ways to bury you in court. You push me, I bury your docs, your judges, your captains. Then he leaned forward, finally, directly into Luciano's space. You cheat me. You start a war. I cheat you. You start a war. Either way, everybody bleeds. Or we both get rich. He let the weight settle. Your move. Lansky broke first. He leaned toward Luciano, voice low but eager. Charlie, 10% is clean income. No overhead. No soldiers. The risk is on him, profit is on us. Anastasia shook his head, still staring daggers, but he wasn't talking anymore. Costello whispered, he's right. It's smart. Luciano sat still, unreadable, then slowly smiled. Not mockery. Respect. Dutch Schultz should have spoken to you first, he said. Then, he stood. Bumpy stood too. Two kings, same height, same ice in their eyes. Luciano extended his hand. 10%. No soldiers in Harlem. Money delivered monthly. Bumpy's grip was firm, final. We have a deal. Around them, tension evaporated like smoke from a barrel. Lansky grinned. Costello exhaled relief. Anastasia holstered his glare. Luciano held Bumpy's hand 1 second longer. You're the first man who told me no without a gun in his hand. That's either courage or stupidity. Bumpy smirked. When you figure out which, let me know. Two predators released grips. A new underworld was born. 3 weeks later, a cold wind rolled off the Hudson as Lucky Luciano boarded a ship to Italy, never to step on American soil again. Reporters shouted questions. Flashbulbs burst like gunfire. He only looked back once. Because Harlem was handled. Because he shook hands with the only man in New York who could have said no and lived. And Bumpy Johnson? He didn't watch from the docks. He didn't wave goodbye. He was already working. Harlem streets pulsed like veins, runners whispering numbers on corners, barbershops full of bets, grocery ledgers hiding illegal fortunes. Money moved like water downhill, and now 10% of that river flowed into Italian hands. Clean, clockwork, untouchable. Every month, a courier arrived at Bumpy's office. No soldiers. No muscle. Just a man with a ledger and a suitcase. Bumpy counted the bills himself. Neat stacks. Rubber bands snapped tight like discipline. He never missed a payment. Not once. Because a deal made in a room full of killers means nothing. Keeping it means everything. But alliances weren't built on cash alone. 1951, federal agents raided Harlem, hit the numbers hard, dragged Bumpy out in handcuffs. Cameras flashed. Politicians bragged. Harlem held its breath. Most men would have been abandoned. Not Bumpy. Frank Costello, now the quiet king of the commission, picked up a phone. Lawyers appeared overnight. Bumpy's wife received envelopes thick with cash. Groceries. Rent. Tuition. That 10% bought more than banking. It bought loyalty. And when Bumpy stepped out of Alcatraz 12 years later, gray at the temples but unbroken, the deal still stood. Harlem welcomed him back like a returning emperor. Crowds on Lenox Avenue. Horns blasting. Old runners hugging him like fathers do sons. Bumpy didn't give speeches. He walked downtown, opened his office door, and sat exactly where he left off. Same briefcase. Same ashtray. Different man. In Italy, Luciano told associates stories about America. The power, the wars, the money. But when Harlem came up, he always leaned back, eyes narrowed with respect. Bumpy Johnson was the smartest gangster I ever met. He'd tap his glass. And the most dangerous, because he never needed me to respect him. He made me. Bumpy never bragged about that night. Never retold the meeting. But he kept one thing on his wall until the day he died. That photograph of Anastasia shaking hands with a cop. Not as blackmail. As memory. Power isn't who fires first. It's who doesn't have to. 2 men, 2 empires, 1 handshake that rewrote organized crime. Not with bullets, but with brains. The Stork Club meeting faded into legend. Not with gun smoke, not with blood on tile, but with 2 men walking out alive when they had every reason not to. Years turned. Bosses died. Empires shifted. But the deal held. Harlem stayed black. The Italians kept their 10%. And Bumpy Johnson ran his kingdom like a man who'd already beaten the biggest boss in America, because he had. 1963. Bumpy walked out of Alcatraz leaner, quieter, eyes older but sharper than the day he left. Harlem met him like a returning general. Cheers in the street, cars honking, old runners rushing up with envelopes, hugs, stories, debts finally ready to be repaid. He didn't revel in it. Kings don't celebrate crowns, they wear them. And the Italians. Frank Costello sent word immediately. The pipeline's still open. Your cut is waiting. Welcome home. No threats. No pressure. Because loyalty had proved more valuable than muscle ever did. Bumpy returned to business with a colder edge. He played chess on a park bench with old men, but every move on the board mirrored Harlem itself. Territory, sacrifice, patience. Young hustlers called him Mr. Johnson, never Bumpy to his face. Not fear, respect. Earned the hard way, not handed. He never showed off. Never flashed cars or diamonds. Just that tailored 3-piece suit, gold watch chain, and a stare that told you exactly where you stood. And in his office, framed behind his desk, sat that faded photograph. Anastasia and a police captain, hands shaking. The picture that could have burned the Mafia alive. He never used it. He never needed to. Because real power isn't blackmail. It's knowing you could. When Luciano died in Naples, associates toasted his name with wine and regret. Some said he missed America more than any woman in his life. Others said he dreamed of Harlem until the end. One younger soldier asked who really ran that neighborhood. They all answered the same name. Bumpy. Not because he was the loudest. Not because he was the most violent. But because when Lucky Luciano, the man the FBI called the most dangerous gangster in America, walked into a room full of killers, only Bumpy Johnson stayed seated. And that seat became history. Most mob stories end with bullets, sirens, betrayal. This one ends with something rarer. Two kings making peace. Both walking out alive. Both getting rich. No blood. Just chess. If you're still here, you felt that power shift. Before you scroll, tell me, in that room, who would you have been? The man who stood, or the man who didn't? Drop your answer below. Like the video so this story reaches more people who understand one truth. Real power never needs to raise its voice.